Hey everybody, how we doing out there? Doc Severson with you here. We're doing a little trade school on Saturday morning, November 24th. Want to make sure everybody can hear me and make sure that we are live out there. If everything is working, let me know. Just chat into the room and let me know that you can see everything and that we're rolling out. Want to make sure this is still good to go before I start bloviating here. How's everybody's Thanksgiving been? What we're going to do today is trade school is I'm going to talk about the current state of the market. I'm going to talk about what we can do if we want to do long-term trades, short-term trades, trend trading, anything like that. So everything is on the table. Okay, I don't see anybody out there. I want to make sure that we are good to go here. It looks like I am streaming. Okay, looks like we're good to go. Okay, good. All right, I just had to refresh the room. Good morning, everybody. Glad to see everybody out there. Good morning to ReadySetCrypto Trade School. All right. What's up? Good job in Ireland. All right, who else we got out there? So we got Ireland, we got Michigan. We got a big game coming up later today with Michigan. Brighton, England. I have been on the pier in Brighton once upon a time. London by the sea. All right. Outstanding. All right. India. We have Crypto Believer from India. We have Adam is either saying hello or he's from Hawaii. And Valentin is from Belgium. We have Eric from Vegas. Robert from Miami, Florida. And Miko Pat, what do I think about Hike and Ashy? I used to know that guy once upon a time. Germany, Netherlands, India, Texas, Italy, Antigua, India. Big game. London, England. Outstanding. I will be there next May. Northern California, Canada, Shanghai. We've got a lot of folks here today. So thank you for taking time out of your busy Saturdays. For some of you, this may be a holiday weekend. For folks around the globe, you're wondering why the Americans are all going crazy. This is a 4-day weekend for us. Slovenia, Malaysia, Northern California, Quebec, Australia, London and Turkey. And there's Norway, Wales, Essex. Love it. I love how crypto is so international. It is not US focused at all. It is the entire planet is involved in crypto. All right, so what I wanted to do today with you guys, if this is okay with you, I am going to go through a few markets here, and if there's any that you want to see, let me know. The chat room does move very quickly, so I can't do like 3 things at once here. So if you ask a question or put a request in for something, you may have to do it 2 or 3 times before I will catch it, right? Because once I get that coin, I'm just going to go zooming in on what we see here. Let's start out with Bitcoin while we do that. So if we take the larger term view with Bitcoin, let's go out to a weekly chart and see what we got here. Okay. Well, what do we have? We have a former downtrend consolidated for the summer and then has reclaimed the downtrend again. Okay, so we're still under the influence of a larger time frame downtrend. And if you guys remember some of the rules that I put around price action, rule number 1 is larger time frames dominate the trend. Larger time frames dominate the trend. So we should expect this to dominate the trend for quite some time until we do see rule number 2 of price action come in, where we're going to see a reversal happen at that point. So everybody wants to know, when is this going to reverse? What's it going to look like? All those kind of things. Look at all the volume that we've had this week. It's been a good week of volume. Range contraction leads to range expansion. It's rule number 3. Okay. And if we go down to, so let's go down to the daily chart. Let's go down to the daily chart. What are we seeing here? We're seeing range contraction, range expansion, flags. You can see these bear flags a little bit better if you go down to something like the 4 or 5 hour chart. Okay, so this is one that we talked about, I don't remember when this was, but mentioned this in a couple of newsletters. Okay, the initial release, we had range expansion into exhaustion, right? So let's go ahead and let's go add our Chop and Bollingers on here. So we'll just add Chop and Bollingers on here, and you can see how this range expansion went into absolute exhaustion. But then what happened? On the 4 hour chart, at least, we went into high energy condition. When it was ready to trend again, it released to the downside once more. Okay. Let's go back to, for the most part, primarily, I'm going to just stay on price and volume here just because it's easier to see. And again, we're seeing the same thing here on, if you guys are typing, I'm not seeing anything that you're typing right now because I'm staring at my chart. Okay, so we're just seeing these flags, which are going to release, flag, release, flag, release. And at some point, more than likely, what's going to happen is we've got an exhaustion signal, which is approaching on the weekly chart. So we should probably see, all right, let's see where my time frame is here. On the daily chart, what I would expect to see is that this flag will start to build out a little bit higher like this. So we're going to get a pullback / flag coming back up to this level, right? Because we're at exhaustion. Daily chart's at exhaustion. We have the weekly chart at exhaustion as well too. We're probably going to need to see some kind of pause, range expansion, range contraction, range expansion. Now, when will this stop? What I'm looking for, and I'm trying to be consistent about this because everybody wants to know what is going to have to happen to make this reverse. What price level is it going to reverse? Guys, it's not really even worth looking at the price level. There's a lot of pundits that are out there that are throwing out prices and saying, and it seems like every day they're throwing out a new price, and so they can go back and say, see, I told you it was going to bounce there. Nobody knows the future. Come on, seriously, nobody knows the future. Nobody knows what price level is going to come along and cause this to bounce. I mean, one of the levels that I had talked about based on impeccable logic of price support we should have bounced to 5,000. We didn't. So that pivot was just blown through like it didn't exist. So what I'm seeing is more of like volume profile support is coming into play. So volume profile support, if that's the case, then the next step down is going to be somewhere maybe 2,400 and not the 3,000 level that everybody expects it to be. Is that where it's going to go? I don't know. And that's not my job. It's not my job to predict where prices are going. It's not your job either. In fact, it will create a bias. It'll create a bias, and a bias is a very bad thing for you to have as a retail trader, because a bias means if you get a bias, so let's say that you follow somebody and maybe he's an Italian technical analyst and he's very compelling, very smooth, comes up with a lot of evidence for things. What happens is then if that person comes up with a price target, you will automatically clamp onto that price target. You will say, now I have confirmation bias. You're not going to say that to yourself, but you're going to have confirmation bias at that point because you bought in. And everything that you look for now is going to be, I want to find evidence to confirm that level. And if something comes along, some piece of evidence comes along that disputes that level or disagrees with that level, you're going to chuck it out. You're going to chuck it out. You're going to look for things that's called confirmation bias. It's one of the most evil things that you will do, right? This is one thing that you have to do as a retail trader, is to find ways to get rid of bias. I know it doesn't seem to make sense, right? The conventional wisdom is that you go out and you read the news. The more news that you read, the more opinions that you read, the better informed that you are. It's actually the exact opposite. If you can stick to just looking at price and let price tell you what's going on. So what would I want to see reversal? what I would like to see is, I want to see a big hammer candlestick on the daily chart. A big hammer candlestick is going to look something like this, right? So this is where we start out at some point, and it doesn't matter whether it's a red or a white or green or a red, doesn't really matter. The size of the real body to me does not matter. But we're going to start up here. And intraday, we're going to push all the way down here. It's going to be spectacular. It's going to look like a crash. But by the end of the day, by 0 UTC, when the candle prints over and we roll to the next candle, it's going to recover almost all of that, if not more. Depends on whether it's a red or a green body. So this is the type of reversal signal that we will see. Now, you'll go to somebody like a Steve Nissen, and the first thing he'll say is that one candle does not a reversal make. It must be confirmed. Okay, fine. So we need to see reversal or continuation on that once that hits. But here's the thing, guys, is that after that 1 day reversal, after that big hammer candlestick kicks in, on big volume, it's got to have big volume. It'll probably take several months yet before we actually start to see liftoff, before we get that escape velocity off. So what we're going to be seeing is, we'll go through this, whatever this, initial swing, maybe we'll see a couple of swings down like this. And then it should end in some type of capitulation here. Boom. Big hammer candlestick down there. That is the beginning of the end of the bear. From there, what we'll probably see is we'll probably see some amazing rallies, which will get faded back down. Amazing rallies, faded back down. Amazing rallies, faded back down. What's the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to get you to give up. This is what happens in retail markets, is that everybody that's held on through this point and held on and held on and held on and like, oh, please, please, please just bounce. Finally get the bounce and you're like, oh yes, here it is. And then all of a sudden, no, it's nothing. It's like opening a present on Christmas Day and there's nothing inside the box. And then you get the next rally coming up. And then that too fades. And then the next rally comes up and it too fades. Guess what? By the time that this thing finally does achieve escape velocity and starts trending to the upside, there's going to be nobody on board. Everybody will have just chucked it in, or is going to be sitting there with their arms folded saying, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and make sure that this thing works. And that will be an amazing rally. This is called the disbelief rally. The disbelief rally is almost always shows up on these. I mean, there's a certain set of stages that a bear market has to go through before it will wash everybody out and then start trending anew. It's almost like a forest fire, which is a naturally occurring phenomenon, which ultimately is good for a market. Okay, so I'm going to go back out to the chat room and see what you guys are yakking about here. How we doing out there? We can't go much lower. Yes, we can. We can go as low as the market wants it to go. There is no, yeah, it's painful. It's got to be painful. You want the pain, right? You want the pain. If working out was easy, nobody would find any value from doing it. All right, so those are just kind of my thoughts on how bear markets, I've been through a number of them. They typically go through the same kind of cycles. They go through the same twists and turns. They're maddening. I frankly do not like them because they're very non-linear, very difficult to trade. And they make people give up. And so that's what I'm telling you guys is don't give up. Don't give up, because this will pass at some point. All right. So that is kind of the word on Bitcoin. That's my analysis on it. We're getting some pretty big volume here on Ethereum as well too. If we go out to the weekly chart and see what's going on with Ethereum, not looking so good right now. We're still in a primary downtrend. Now we do have big volume. Big volume is actually a good sign because that is disagreement on price. If there was no disagreement on price, everybody would say, okay, yeah, sure, keep pushing and get down. But disagreement is good. But we are eating a big chunk of this rally up here. Okay, let's see if anybody else has got anything here. Let's see. Here till zero. I love it. Okay. What's my thoughts on 0x? So I'll get to 0x in a minute. So a lot of people have been talking about Ripple. And I didn't put my typical disclaimer up beforehand. Please don't shill in the chat room. If you're shilling in the chat room, you're doing it wrong. Right? There's got to be a better place to go than to shill in the chat room. Okay, so this is what we're seeing on a weekly chart of Ripple versus USD. And so far, big red week. This is just a big consolidation right now. So this pennant pattern could go either way. Could go either way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for this to break either way. And again, the more that you have an idea of where you think it's going to go, the more likely it's going to go in the opposite direction. So this is, we can kind of move this around. Trend lines are very subjective, but right now we just have a big consolidation happening on the weekly chart. Let's go look at the energy on this. Okay, we got a lot of energy on the daily chart, and on the weekly chart, we probably should have a lot of it there too. Not as much as I would have thought. Okay, so not as much as I would have thought. So, but there's no impediment to this thing trending in either direction right now. Okay, you guys. All right. Is anybody looking forward to some football today? Now, of course, it depends on where you are in the world that football means something different. So for some of you out there, that means Champions League. I'm still looking for a Champions League team to follow. I think it's probably going to be Man City because one of my good friends lives in Manchester. And he is not a Man United fan. He's a Man City fan. So maybe that might be good. Actually, I think they're pretty good lately. Got a little bit of college football coming up today and some pro tomorrow. Okay, so we've gone over Ripple. I think there was a request for 0x. Let's see if I can find it here. There we go. Okay, this is, let's start out by just going with the price and volume. Price and volume, we have a weekly, well, this is, I guess you'd call this still a weekly downtrend. We still have lower highs and lower lows. We have, at this point, we have a higher low still, so we don't have a confirmed downtrend yet. This may be just moving into a big consolidation pattern on 0x on the weekly chart. But right now, one of the things that I always say in terms of swing trading or just short-term trading is to play in the direction of the anchor chart swing. So if this is your anchor chart, if you're playing in the direction of that anchor chart, then you'd be going short right now. You'd be biased to the downside right now. And you can see this daily trend to the downside. Who's Scottish? Hey, one of my favorite places in the planet is Edinburgh. Edinburgh. Okay, let's see. Getting a request for TRX. Let's see. Tron. I keep wanting to call it Trex, and that's wrong. Okay, so let's go Tron, Bitcoin. You know, it's really kind of the same looking pattern here. This is quite a large bear flag that's releasing to the downside right now. So a lot of times the best thing you can do is to go out to the weekly chart and say, what direction is it trending in right now? And quite honestly, guys, I don't want you accumulating. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There is such a big parallel to the 1990s with tech stocks and everything like that. We don't know which ones of these coins will make it. Now, if you want to get into religious arguments, that's fine. Knock yourself out. But quite honestly, we don't know which ones of these are going to make it. And some of these could go to zero. So there is an expression which I brought up this week is that losers average down. So a lot of people want to tell you, just buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. See what happened in the past. We don't know if these are going to go. What I want you guys to do is to wait until it trends higher. Wait until you start to see this trend higher. You're not going to lose that much edge. Is this going to require some patience on your behalf? Yes, it is. But wait until something like this starts to trend higher. Like this. There is no medal that's given out. There's no medal that you can hang around your neck to say, I bought the bottom tick of Tron. No one cares. It's much, much easier. It's much safer to wait until you see a primary uptrend, at least on the weekly chart, before you start accumulating. If there is a big business case for a coin, and Tron very well may be one of these, but right now the price isn't showing that. The price isn't showing it. The price is not reflecting forward earnings in this. So wait until things start to... Now, I know that that's controversial. I know a lot of you disagree with that because you have been afflicted with a bias, and your confirmation bias makes you want to go look for things that are diving in price. Hey, I can get a great price on this. It's diving in price. Okay, what happens if it keeps going lower? Don't do that. Wait till things start to trend higher. Okay, let's see. VeChain. And again, guys, I apologize if I missed your coin. If you had listed it out and I didn't see it, it's not because I'm being rude. It's just because there's only so much processing this old brain can handle up here. So again, weekly chart. What does this tell you about the trend? It's to the downside. Don't accumulate things that are moving to the downside in a primary downtrend. That's averaging down. Wait until it starts printing higher highs and higher lows. If there truly is a case for the coin, if there's a great business case for the coin, then it will sustain, and you'll still look back on this a long time ago, a long time in the future and say, wow, I didn't get the exact bottom tick. I missed that medal, but I did pretty well. I did pretty well. All right, so let's keep going here. Let's see. Do you do TD sequential? I don't know what that means, Kevin. I don't know what it means. Time delay sequential. Don't know. Factor will make it. What is the most common factor when deciding trading value? How about the price? The price tells you everything about what the market thinks of its future potential. Think about it. Guys, you can read through, and I don't want to get Mav angry at me, but fundamentals, there's always this big debate between fundamentals and technicals. The technicians will say, who cares about that stuff? Now, fundamentals, I will admit, longer term do make a big difference. So if you're going to hodl something, do know your fundamentals, do your own research, etc. But for periods of maybe 6 to 9 months to a year, fundamentals don't matter that much. Even short term, they don't matter that much. Everything that the market knows about that coin right now is priced in to the second. Right now, this very second. What do I think of the hyperwave theory in Bitcoin? Oh, that's probably a timing thing. I'm not really a timer. There's a lot of people that, and sometimes I'm really shocked is that some people will like say, hey, I found this article that shows that every 18 months XYZ will happen. Again, to me, that's getting into the realm of predicting the future based on some random event. And that's what I do not do that. I do not predict the future. I don't come along here and say, this is going to happen. I will say, this is what I will do if I see this type of candle coming up. This is what I will anticipate if I see this type of price action coming up because it's showing this type of character, right? There's a big difference there between this sort of, gray zone of like trying to predict the future based on something versus using the price to actually anchor against to say, all right, if the price goes above this level, then this is what I'm going to do. It's very concrete. It's very easy it's not the easiest thing to learn because right now you've been bombarded by all these messages for years and years. Do you guys realize that the number one method of education for a retail investor is TV commercials? I kid you not. I'm not kidding. It's TV commercials. TV commercials have gotten more people. You know, you read something or you watch something on a TV commercial, you're going to take it as you know, according to Hoyle. You're going to take it verbatim. You're going to say, well, I saw it on a TV commercial. It means nothing, right? They're trying to get you to trade so that you can rack up some commissions, right? That's their job, to make it look easy. And it's also their job for like mutual funds, you know, to appear to be that they know what they're doing. And so you're going to buy that stuff. I mean, it takes years to get that stuff out of your head and start to follow price. Okay, I'm getting on my soapbox again. I'm sorry, guys. Do I ever use Renko charts? I've played around with Renko charts. I will use Heiken Ashies if I'm doing short-term trading. I like Heiken Ashies for short-term trading. Renko's doesn't really add anything to me. If you can see price, then Renko's just another style of candle to me. Jesus wants the pain. Substratum. Man, I haven't seen Substratum for a long time. I think these guys are just up the road from me. All right, so what does this tell you about the trend? Primary downtrend, is it not? We've been in a primary downtrend really since the beginning of the year. Until that changes, so I'm sure a lot of you are asking me because you already have an asset in here and want to know what to do with it. Remember, from this day forward, rule number 1 of risk management is never enter a position without knowing what your exit is first. So before you actually hit the button to buy that coin, understand what your exit's going to be first. This will save you so much aggravation down the road. Elastos. Let's look at Elastos. Okay, ELA. I don't apparently have the ability to chart Elastos on TradingView right now. At least not this version of TradingView. I mean, I could probably go over to something like this. This is investing.com. Let's see if we can find it here. There we go. Elastos. Let's go out to a weekly chart. What's happening on a weekly chart for Elastos? Okay. We're going to keep seeing the same things here, guys. It's going to drive you nuts because you got to be patient. You got to be patient and wait for things to... Who's asking BitConnect? Come on, seriously, guys. Hydro, I don't know. Guys, if you're asking me about my thoughts on a particular coin, I don't know. That's not my thing. I bring up the price. I look at the price. Now, occasionally I will look at something like a Digitex because I understand the business and I understand the industry, and I realize how disruptive that they can be. And so I'm a big fan of that project, but most of the other projects, my only opinion is I look at the price chart and then I can give you an opinion on the price chart. I'm not going to read through the white paper. What do I think of TradingView? What do I think of TradingView? I actually think TradingView is a really good charting package. There's a lot of stuff that's in there. There's a lot of things that I miss from my other charting. So I've used a lot of the premium charting packages out there like Q Charts and eSignal, and I've used TradeStation, and I've used NinjaTrader. So just about, you know, Sierra charts, and I've used all the basic broker charts like Interactive Brokers and TD Ameritrade charts and profit charts, and, you know, just about all of them. And actually TradingView, I like TradingView a lot. It's really easy to work with, and you can use it for more than just the cryptocurrency market. You can use it for Forex. You can use it for the equities market. I mean, you can go down here into the screener, and in the screener, you can pick your, like stock screener, you can pick your country. You know, I want to see all the stocks that are in Brazil. and we don't have any matches right now, but this is the kind of thing that you can do. So it is fairly powerful. There are some things that are missing in it, which I would dearly love to have. And it's just a matter of, they're just not going to get to it. So I am looking forward to some of the big players of the space sticking their foot in the next year or so. Like we've heard that Fidelity and we've heard that TD Ameritrade are going to get involved with cryptocurrency and offer the spot currencies through their platform. That would be magnificent, because that means that we get their charting package. We get all of their analysis tools with that, which would be great. So right now, TradingView, I think, is pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, so somebody's asking me for MCO, which is the airport code for Orlando, Florida. So I think this is the one here. Okay, so what do we have here? An initial downtrend into a big, long, ugly, sort of range-bound. This is pretty much what everything looks like right now. Let's see, QNT. Digitex, somebody, while I'm bringing this up, people are asking me about Digitex. What do I think about Digitex? QNT, I do not have the ability to chart this versus BTC, so I can't show this one. Digitex is going to be a monster if they can pull it off. I want them to pull it off. So they've got to get to beta, and they've got to be able to put production customers on here, and their platform has to be bulletproof and secure, and that's a big task for them to do that, right? How many hacks have we seen in the last year? Even though they intend to be distributed, version 1, they're going to have to be captive on it, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard to do. But man, if they can pull it off, it's going to be a world beater. It's going to be amazing. Icon, ICX. Let's go look at this. And by the way, while I'm looking at this, don't forget, guys, that we do have a little commercial here. 15% off all the classes this week until tomorrow. So all you got to do is just go into the store. Oops, not the members area, but go into the store. Premium classes, everything is 15% off through tomorrow. And also we have the trend trading class. So I did a lot of people are like, hey, where do you get that? And I told you guys, it's not on the store. So if you go to ReadySetCrypto.com/trend, TREND/trend, that's where you'll find this class. And premium members get $10 off of this if you use the coupon. All right, so that's my mini commercial for right now. Icon, we have a pretty serious downtrend in play still. And I want to see this thing start to rip higher highs and higher lows before I want to accumulate. Trend trading with Heikin-Ashi candles. I don't think you really need Heikin-Ashi candles. Heikin-Ashi candles will tell you which way the trend is. Heikin-Ashi candles tell you which way the trend is. But what I'm trying to teach you guys is don't depend on a study or an indicator or a candle type. If you see something going like this, you've got to know what it would take for that price to reverse. What would it have to take for the price to reverse into an uptrend? This is where I will box things in. Like, okay, so if this is the current lower high, I'll box it in and say, okay, here's our current decision box. If the price pulls down through here, then it's just another confirmed downtrend leg. Otherwise, if we see something happening like this, if it pulls down to here, and then if it breaks out through the upper range of this, then we have a change in polarity. And that's the very fastest way that you're going to find out about this. Not through a candle, not through a study. Any study that you put on there is going to be a derivative of price and volume. It will be delayed. It looks pretty, right? It looks pretty. I mean, you could do things like this, like people love this kind of stuff. People love, you know, putting on something like, let's see, where do I have this here? Where's my ribbon? There we go. And let's put this on the daily chart. And let's put it on Bitcoin. People love ribbons, man, because it's like, oh, look at that. That's pretty. It's easy for me to figure out, right? It's easy for me to figure out. I'll just trade long above the green and then red below, you know, short below the red, those kind of things. And that's perfectly fine. If you can't figure out what I just talked about with a trend, then you can use things like an EMA ribbon and just trade in the direction of that main exponential moving average. You can do that kind of stuff. Or you can use Heikin-Ashi candles or Renkos or, you know, blocks or whatever you want to do. You know, those kind of things. But to me, the simplest and fastest thing that you can do is to learn how to evaluate price trend. And you'll never go wrong. You'll never have to learn another thing. You'll never have to buy something else. You'll never have to buy another tool or another study or all that crap that's out there. Bank of America has the same address with Ripple on Google Maps. Oh, don't know about that. Now, Ernie is asking about Stellar. All right, so let's go back. Let's get this stuff off of here. And let's go over to Stellar. I like this one. Here's a good example of something which is, I mean, if we look at this on the weekly chart, we just have a massive, massive weekly pennant setting up here. Big symmetrical triangle. And we actually have a higher high here. So this one is actually technically trending to the upside on the weekly chart. So this is a good example of something like this. So one of my thoughts for you guys today is like, look, there is stuff that's starting to surface off the bottom. There's these submarines that are down there. They've been grinding in the mud, and all of a sudden they've gone into positive buoyancy. So we're starting to see these in the crypto screener. Like some of these just, you know, like here's, you know, my God, Bitcoin gold of all things. You know, this thing has just been trashed for a long time, but it's starting to come off the bottom. Now, is this the bottom? I don't know. I don't know yet. But it's almost worth giving it a shot if it gives you the right type of signals. And this is how bottoms are made, because everybody's quit looking at it, and all of a sudden you get this sort of stealth rally off the bottom. And we're seeing that with a lot of these. We're seeing that with a lot of these swing trade coins right now, like Factum. And let's see. Here's Koval, Circuits of Value. So some of these are starting to lift off the bottom, right? Some of these are starting to lift off the bottom, and this is what we want to look for. Einsteinium and some of these. So you can't trade the market that you want. You got to trade the market that you have. And right now, this is the stuff that's moving. You know, Chainlink has been doing really well lately. But right now it's in corrective because you can't expect these things to go forever. But look at this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really good swings off of this thing. And it's gone into corrective because it had weekly exhaustion. Let's give it a break. Let's find something else. Any comments on Digibyte? Guys, I just talked about Ripple a couple of minutes ago. So sorry if you missed that. Let's see. Digibyte. Digibyte, this one is kind of odd. You know, I don't like this brokerage. Let's see. Let's try. Sometimes you're going to have to look at different. Yeah, let's look at, well, that's not going to help us either. Sometimes looking at different brokerages will give you a different look. Let's try Poloniex. No, none of these are really all that good. I thought Digibyte was doing better than this. Okay, so here's a weekly chart of Digibyte that's on Poloniex. And this one was coiling nicely and was throwing off some signals in the summer like this thing was going to be heading higher, and then it just sort of with the rest of the market. So right now we're still in a primary downtrend on Digibyte. Okay, EOS. People looking for EOS. And let's see. Let's try the Binance version. Okay, so this one is, I mean, what do you see with this one? What we see is we see a primary downtrend on the weekly chart. Again, we're looking at the weekly chart here. Primary downtrend on the weekly chart. This is more of a flag setting up right now. So if I pull up the chop and Bollingers on this dude, more than likely it went into exhaustion, and that was the case, and now it's ready to make the second move. Now, what you can do is you can box this in. There's no law that says that it has to keep on going to this direction. What happens if it starts to move higher? And so what we can do is we can go down to the daily chart here, and we can say, okay, we've got ourselves a trend line. And so we can draw on this trend line. There we go. And what we can also do is let's right click on this and we can add an alert on that trend line. So for EOS, BTC, if we start to cross that trend line, and of course if we cross it, that's moving to the upside, we can send ourselves an alert like that. And we can send it to SMS or email or however we want to. But yeah, I like this one. This one has the potential. It should break to the downside. Should break to the downside. But what happens if it breaks to the upside? Do we want that as a long? Maybe. In it for the memes. Are you actually trading or just watching a chart like Tone Pays? Oh, guys, I don't want to rip on anybody else here. I actually do trade these things. So every day I come along and I look down through the screener and I say, guys, this is what we're looking at. And like for Bitcoin Gold, let's see, for something like this, I want to see the energy go at least above 55. And this is a pretty sloppy pattern. Let's check it on the weekly charts. Let's make sure that we have enough gas in the tank. We do. Okay. And so this is what I will do, is that I will come along here. I think at this point, this is better off as a trend line that we can take. This is a trend line that we can take. So for who was asking that again? In it for the memes. That's right. Yeah, I trade a lot of different markets. In it for the memes. So we're going to add an alert on this, and we can just say Bitcoin Gold crossing trend line, crossing the trend line. There we go. And if I do get this, I want to make sure that this has at least a 55 level. Now, guys, what I will do is for a lot of these trades, the ones that I put in the newsletter or a Discord room, anything like that, I will do what's called fixed risk position sizing. So I'll set these with a certain small account level, like maybe 1%, definitely less than 2%, and I'll just let it go. So I will set up a target for these swings. If we get the target, great. The target will be based on the average swing length, and average swing length is this. So for every time that we had a good level of energy, we broke out, how far did it go? About that far. Okay. Here's a good level of energy. Here's a breakout from that level of energy, from that price level right there. That's about how far we got. So I'll determine what remember, rule number 1, determine your exits before you enter the position. So what I'll do is if we do get a breakout from here, I'll just say, okay, and whatever this ends up being, I'm not going to sit here and go through the math and figure that out, but that's what I will look for. I will look for an exit up there for these types of swings. But tough market to swing trade in right now, because otherwise you're playing to the downside. And I don't want most people playing to the downside. So unless you're going to go through the whole BitMEX thing and find some downside contracts for this, which is why the futures contract coming along with futures that you can trade ambidextrously, right? Because right now, if you're going to take short positions on the spot currency, you're going to be paying interest on that. You have unlimited risk to the upside. If this thing takes off and blows off overnight, you're not going to catch it. But this is why we trade fixed risk positions, right? Fix your risk in the positions. Defined risk. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? What is this energy? Is it RSI, stochastics, RSI, or something else? What I would recommend is that, and so that's Josenheim. I'm gonna hack up the name there. This is called the choppiness index. This is called the choppiness index. And what I would do is go out to our YouTube channel, and you can find, I believe it's a presentation called the 4 rules that you must know. The 4 rules that you must know. So I gave that about 2 months ago, and it shows you how to use this. Or if you're interested also, I sell this as part of what I call the Fractal Energy Masterclass. So that is a 15 module program. It includes a PDF for every module, also includes a quiz for every module. So I'm not letting you off the hook on those. So that was a lot of work to get that done. But the whole purpose behind this study down here, the choppiness index, is it measures the linearity of the current trend. The linearity of the current trend. So when we have something like this, where the price is going absolutely nowhere, this is where we have a high value like this, and this is akin to the spring being wound up. Spring being wound up like that, tighter, 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 until boom, it flies out of your hand. This is typically where we do get the breakouts from this. Notice also here, high level of energy, this is where we got the breakout. High level of energy, this is where we got the breakout. So we're going with the trend. The overall trend here in this case for Bitcoin Gold has been, for the last couple of months, it's been to the upside. So we're looking for these breakouts on these upside movements. So it's a fairly simple methodology using more than one time frame. It's very, very accurate. And that's generally what I'm using. Crypto T, do I use fundamentals for trading stocks, Forex, etc.? Well, there's no fundamentals in Forex, but unless you get into the currency theory, and quite honestly, I go with the school of, the church of what's happening now, right? Which is what's happening to the price. The price tells the entire story. Because most of what I'm doing, if you're holding on to something for 5-10 years, yeah, you have to know the fundamentals. But for something that I'm doing, which is relatively short term, fundamentals are just more homework to do. I used to do all that stuff. I used to, mark down the fundamentals and go through the screening and everything like that. And so tedious. The Venezuelan petro coin. Well, let's see if we can chart it. I don't know. PTR. Let's see. Oh, that's PetroChina. Let's see if there's PTR BTC. No, we don't. So I can't chart this on. I might be able to chart this on investing.com. This is actually a useful little site where it's like if you can't find anything, you can quite often find it on investing.com. PTR. No, can't find it there. Sorry. How many years have I been a trader? I've been trading since 1996. And I quit my job back in 2005 to do this for a living. And what I found was it's quite odd the kind of just, look, everybody gets this, I talk about commercials. Everybody gets this sort of idea of what it's like to quit your job. The strangest day in the world that I had was the very first day that I didn't go into the office, because all of a sudden I'm like looking behind me like, man, there's got to be somewhere that I'm supposed to be right now. It's like, it's 9 o'clock. I'm supposed to be in the office right now. And it's like, it was the strangest thing not to have anywhere to go. So that was one. The second thing is there, you sort of get this, oh my God, that'd be nirvana. I don't have to commute to the office anymore. I don't have to deal with the politics. I don't have to deal with those people. So all of a sudden, what you realize is that when you just stay home every day, all of a sudden you cut away an entire social network that you have. All those dudes or people that you used to go to lunch with, gone, right? So they don't want to talk to you anymore because you quit, right? And just the office parties that would happen around this time of year, just your social network. All of a sudden you go to a social network of zero. It's you and the dog. And what you find is that there are people that you can hook up with, but they're going to be on the other side of the planet. You're going to be talking through a chat room and stuff like that. So one of the biggest changes that I found was just the social interaction. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of welcome when somebody started knocking at my front door and saying, hey, could you take some time and teach me what you know? You did this, so can you help me get there? And I'm like, sure. And it was, it's fun. It becomes part of my social circle now. So you guys are like my coworkers now. Analyze MFT. Anthony put an exclamation mark at the end of that, so he's emphatic about it. MFT. Okay, mainframe. All right, so let's chart that versus Bitcoin. Mainframe. Primary downtrend. Looks like a flag. Looks like a bear flag, releasing from a bear flag right now. So before I would invest in MFT, I would want to see this turn around and start making higher highs and higher lows. I am not a buy the dipper, especially in this world right now. We don't know which coins are going to make it in the next year, the next 2 years. We've already seen how many hundreds of ICOs delisted. Doesn't matter what you think. The market will tell you what it thinks about its forward capacity. And the price is the best way that I know of to do that. Bradley, do I use BitMEX at all? Well, I have to be careful there because I'm not allowed to trade BitMEX. Got that? I'm not allowed to trade BitMEX. It is illegal. I have to pull out my Ted Knight. Wouldn't do anything illegal like that, would you? Okay, so let's see. BHCSV. I can't chart that. How about Power Ledger? POWR. There we go. Power Ledger. We can chart it. Primary downtrend on the weekly chart. Be careful of things that have a primary downtrend on the weekly chart because what is low can go lower, right? Just because you think that it's oversold, it doesn't really mean anything just because something is oversold. It's very subjective. Yes, but the RSI is down into oversold territory. I can show you hundreds of charts where RSI is oversold and it continues plummeting in price. BitMEX is not illegal, but it is illegal. They don't want U.S. citizens trading BitMEX. All right, let's see. You guys are cracking me up. Okay, so let me, while I'm waiting for things to come up here again, I'll go for a few more minutes here, answer your questions. So if there's anything else you want to know, or if, just besides coins, and just like what, how do you go about doing something like this? Or how do you go forward as a trader? Those kind of things. And this is generally what I'm always trying to help you guys with, is like, how do you make that next step to be a trader? And it's not quite what you think it is. Everybody thinks that a retail trader that trades for themselves is out on their back porch on a hammock with a laptop and like just poking away at stuff, and that's the way you make money. It is far, far, far from the truth. You got to work 10 times harder as an independent to get your cash flows up there and to manage risk. It is much, much tougher than you would imagine, right? And it's opportunity. You have to trade the market that's in front of you. A year ago, everything was going up. It was easy. It was like going to a trout farm and sticking your hook in the water. Lisa, I tried to check BCHSV, and I don't think that I can, unless you're talking about Bitcoin Cash. Okay, so there we go, SVBTC. Well, okay, so it's only been around for 2 weeks. It doesn't have enough history to really even chart, but it's already in a primary downtrend on the daily chart. Do I see any potential in physical silver? Boy, it's cheap now, isn't it? But why? And I don't even know the answer to why gold and silver have just been crushed over the last year. I don't know why. Dave is asking, how has NLP helped you? I'll remember here's a great example of the first thing that I did with NLP was, and hopefully this isn't too long for you guys. I don't want to bore anybody, but I just came back from, I think it's important that you find groups that you can work with in person if you can. And I just come back from a group meeting, and everybody, it was around this time of year. It was near the end of the year, and the group leader said, "Okay, go around the table and list your plans for the next year." And this was for 2006. And I said, "Well, here's my goals. I intend to make this and this and this and this." And the group leader said, "Okay, great. Next." And I'm driving home, and I'm just completely pissed off at myself, because I'm like, why can't you do something a little bit more aggressive? Why don't you go for it? So it was almost like that little voice in the back of your head that says, you know that you can quit your job and do this for a living. Why aren't you doing it? And I just made up my mind right then and there. And once you make up your mind, once you set your mind to something, once you set your belief system, which is the important thing, once you believe that something happens, then what happens is all of a sudden your reticular activating system will go out of its way to find all the ways to make it happen for you. The problem is that we usually use the opposite version of that. We usually do things like this, like saying, well, I'd like to work for, I'd like to quit and trade for a living and do this by myself. But what are all the things that could torpedo me? What are all the things that could block that? And so what we do is we instruct our reticular activating system to go find everything that could possibly interrupt success for that. And you will definitely find things to, and then you'll say, well, see, I couldn't have done that anyway. So a lot of things depend on your attitude. If you believe that you can do that with every fiber of your being, and that's what it's got to take. I mean, it's baptism by fire, whatever it takes for you, but you've got to believe that, because once you train that belief system for positive results, all of a sudden things will open up for you. I could go on for hours on that topic. I don't want to bore you guys. Oh, okay. So BCHSV is the fork off of Bitcoin Cash. Slim, what do you prefer, day trading, swing trading, or long-term investing? I do all three of them. Day trading is by far it can be the most profitable. It is also by far the most stressful thing that I do. So, I mean, you can have great days, you can have really awful days, and the challenge is when you're having a bad day is to keep it as a bad day and not let it turn into an awful day. But it's difficult because it's always different every day. There's no like crank the wheel kind of thing. Swing trading is fairly simple, and the long-term stuff. Now, what I'm really looking forward to is in 2019, I want these derivatives to come along to cryptocurrencies, because once derivatives come along like options and more futures platforms to do that, then you've got institutions saying, okay, now I can manage my risk, because that's what they use it for. They use options as almost like insurance contracts. And you're not going to find, so I don't care what happens with BACT or any of this other stuff. We're just not going to get institutional involvement. And institutional involvement really means a lot of retail money, which is funneled into funds and then thrown into, that's where the vast majority of money is coming. It's like retirement funds, and it's like pensions and things like that. How do we get that money into crypto? There's trillions of it out there. There's no shortage of money. Trillions of dollars out there. How do we get that into crypto? How do we get accumulation happening with that? Risk control. Once they're able to manage their risk, that all of a sudden the floodgates will open for institutional. So I'm looking at 2019 being the big year that derivatives, I hope that derivatives make their presence felt in the crypto space, and there's adequate liquidity so that they're useful, because all of a sudden then we now can become our own insurance company and start to run a very viable business. And that's something that I did, 15 years ago. Okay, so let's see, Fawad, what should be the minimum amount to start to trade with for a beginner? Okay, so I believe that's a great question. I get that one all the time. And I think that if I were to give you a number, that would be the wrong answer. You should be able to determine that answer for yourself once you build up an effective business plan and an effective trading plan, trade on paper, show yourself that you can do it, and then all of a sudden it becomes an equation, just a supply chain equation. You got money coming in, you have an expected return coming out, and that's the way you do it. So right now, you got to get this to work on paper first. Do the engineering, do the financial engineering to make this work on paper first before you throw a single penny or drachma or whatever your base currency is into this. There are options on Deribit. Yeah, Pizza Police, yeah, but I can't open up an account on Deribit because they do KYC and they say, thou shalt not be a United States citizen. I don't know why. That's it's funny because there are some brokers you can get around it. You can play the game. You guys know what I'm talking about. But there are some you can't. There's some that you can't play that game. If you live in certain countries, you cannot use that. Unfortunately, Deribit, I'd love to be able to do Deribit because they actually have a true options chain on Bitcoin, or at least they used to. And can't get there. Go Crypto, which indicator do I use? I use a couple of different ones. So for most of my trading, I'm using the CHOP index. The CHOP index shows me the difference between range expansion, range contraction, or the energy level. I will use various moving averages just to not confirm the trend, but just, usually what I use moving averages for is a filter for the screening, because screening is really tough to figure out trend on screening. What's a higher high and a higher low and those kind of things. It's difficult to do, but you can put a moving average or a moving average cross on something, and it's very easy for a screener to pick that up. So I will use those. There are some various utility indicators that I use, but look, guys, everybody starts by learning about like moving averages and then stochastics and then MACDs and then, that thing. Actually, Bollinger Bands I do find useful. Bollinger Bands are useful. They go hand in hand with the CHOP index. What is the indicator energy? This is the And we don't have it on this one because there is no, let's go back up to here. This is the choppiness index. So if you go over here to your indicators and trading view, if you just scroll down here to choppiness index, there it is right there. And it comes with the package. For years, I had to derive my own and then add that as a custom study to a charting package. But TradingView is actually one of the few that has it as a default, which is crazy. SEC is even more dangerous than the pizza police. What are my long-term favorite crypto, 3 years and beyond? See, that's not what I do. That's not what I do. Because, guys, can you think back 3 years ago? Could you imagine what's going on today? No, you can't. You couldn't have imagined that Bitcoin was going to go from 1,000 up to 20,000 in the space of a year or so. Nobody would believe that. And then come all the way back down again, for the most part, right? Nobody would believe that. So for me to postulate on what's going to happen 3 years from now is a waste of oxygen. It's a waste of your time, right? So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but the price can tell me what is happening now, and I can just simply react to that. AGI. So I'll do a couple more of these. AGI. See if there's BTC. There we are. Oh, so you could just look at one like this. This is a good example of a coin which is fairly illiquid. ILL, illiquid. And you can just look at this because it gaps all over the place. Gaps all over the place. Why, with a market that is open 24 hours a day and never shuts down, do you have gaps like this? This is because of low liquidity. All of a sudden, an order comes along, boom, it's got to get filled, and it jumps up. So when you see a coin like this, be very careful. When you see a coin like this, be very, very careful. So we can look at, just some of the volume that's on here, and it's just really low. Actually, let's do this. Where this is settings on this guy. Chart properties. Scales. Oh, let's scale it off of here. Scale, pin to the left. There we go. So you're seeing these little low volume days when you're just having, and also it probably doesn't help that this looks like it's only on one exchange too. So if there's only one exchange, and then there's no arbitrage, and there's no reason to keep anybody honest here. And so this is, you're seeing days where this is like, 50K. And this is, how many sats is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 100. So this is like 1,000 Satoshis. So this is a fairly cheap coin. So, this is not talking about a whole lot of market cap here. But when you see something like this, be very careful, because that means that you're going to get a crappy fill, more than likely, on a coin like this. How much profit do I make a month? I don't know, Vupti. How much do you make? Do you think that's an appropriate question to ask somebody in a chat room like this? I make enough to be able to get, make a living from this, from just the trading alone. Now, I do trade different markets. I trade the U.S. futures market. I trade the U.S. stock and options market. I don't trade the Forex spot market. Do not trade that. So I trade those, and I trade the crypto market. And so it's just kind of, it's an amalgamation of all those things. So I can't give you a percentage because it changes every month. Some months are better than others. For those that are looking for a certain set amount, well, I can't do this unless I make X amount a month. What you have to do is you have to go prove it to yourself that you can make that. So a trader's best friend is a good job. Quite honestly, trader's best friend is a good job. So don't quit your job. I was a little bit aggressive with that. So I had forward projected one specific market character, which all of a sudden 6 months into my freedom, all of a sudden everything changed, and all of a sudden I realized I didn't have the skills to handle that. It makes you react very, very quickly. So you got to be able to prove it to yourself, though. Do it while you still have a job. Start to make that side income from it. What do I think about volume profile indicator? Actually, I like volume profile a lot. There's a whole religion about technical analysis, which is market profile, volume profile, things like that. And I think there is, like, for example, the reason why I bring this up and the reason why I like that question is because if we go out to BTC, remember, and let's just go to price and volume here. If we just go out to BTC, remember what I talked about was that price pivot should have provided support. And that price pivot is right there at 5,000. That should have provided support if that was important, but it's not. But if you look at all this activity, the volume profile in this would have peaked like right around here. And I apologize because I'm not going to throw this on here, but the volume profile would have peaked in that area right there. And that's where we got support, was right around 4,000, which is where the volume profile was. So I do believe in volume profile. I think that is valid. It's not something I want to clog my charts up with all the time, but that is a valid theory. Okay, let's do a couple more questions here. And Ren, how do you keep track of trades for tax purposes in all these different markets? Well, first of all, I think what you got to do is you got to make a tax problem, give yourself a tax problem. And if you give yourself a tax problem, then you can hire somebody else to take care of that. And so what I do is I just give year-end statements to my accountant and say, you figure this out. Because quite honestly, it's so tedious. What I spend my time doing is I track every trade from a performance perspective. So what is the maximum adverse excursion for the trade? What is the maximum favorable excursion on the trade? What was the, what did I win? What did I lose? What was the slippage on it? Those kind of things. What is my profit factor for this specific strategy? Is this making money, or should I fire this strategy and replace it with one that is making money? What do you think of BTC chocolate at Walmart at 75% off? Hey, Arthur. Igor, why do you like to trade crypto? The reason that I like to trade crypto is because it's almost, we're in so early. We are in so early, and it's like we're starting to see actual business applications for some of these. I think some of these, look, guys, when you talk about crypto, there's all kinds of different camps that are out there. There's the trader camp, right? So I'm firmly kind of in the trader camp. And there's the fundamental or business camp. And then there's the programmer camp. A lot of people ask me questions on programming like, hey, what do you think about the hash rate of this? I don't know. Dude, that's not my specialty. Those kind of things. So there's all kinds of different camps that are part of crypto. And so there's kind of room for everybody. If you're a fundamentalist, or if you're somebody that understands how blockchains work and about, hashing is done and stuff like that, then you're going to be able to see things that nobody else is going to be able to see in terms of the potential for the future. My way of seeing things is to look at the price, because I know that everything is discounted into the price of that coin this very second right now. And that allows me to make decisions off of it. Other people are going to be more business case use and say, hey, we're going to be disrupting this industry. And so I get a little bit into something like that, right? But there's what you've got to find is your niche. You're not going to be great at every single one of these things. But what I like about crypto is that this really reminds me of what we saw back in the 90s, of like a very new industry, something that was very new, something that potentially. I love, love, love watching industries be disrupted. Existing temples, I love seeing crashing to the ground. As a small businessman myself, there's nothing I love more than that. And so that, I think crypto gives you the opportunity to be on the initial wave of that. You know, it's interesting because Pizza Police is talking about, hey, it sucks that the price is so far down there. We've done so much building. There's so much positive stuff that's gone on. I agree with that. I think there's a hell of a lot of very positive things that have happened in the last year, which were not there in 2017. 2017 was all about speculation and woo kind of thing. And 2018 has been all down in the woods. Schnauzer, that's a schnauzer. 2018 has been down in the weeds, just working on things. And that will pay off. For the companies that are actually going to be out there disrupting things, that will pay off. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 more questions here, and then I'm going to wish you guys a good day. So somebody's asking about Whitecoin. What's that? XW. Whitecoin, I actually looked at this one a few months ago. This was doing very exuberant dog. This one was really doing pretty well. It was making higher highs and higher lows, but has started to fade back down. So if we look at this one on a weekly chart, we can see that this one did have some promise, but has started to fade. All right, so this one was a spring-summer coin. Whitecoin was spring-summer. This is what we're seeing. We're not seeing anything. Don't fall in love with anything right now because we're getting some lift off the bottom. Take your profits and then roll to something else. Vupti, do we see our daily trading picks in your newsletter? Yeah, I go over everything in a video. I say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm setting. Generally, what I'm doing is I'm not like blasting out emails saying, get into this coin right now, because everybody hates that. They hate that because it's like, well, I was driving or I was flying or I was visiting my sister and I got your alert and I couldn't do it. So what do I do now? So what I do is I say, look, set an alert for this level, and if it hits that level, then get in. So you think the whole crypto space will go away? I don't think so. I don't think it will. I think it's here to stay. And one of the, it's funny because, we always talk about the differences between generations and, boomers versus millennials and things like that. But I think this is one that the millennials are going to own, and they're not going to go backwards on this. So I truly believe that the millennials will drive this thing and will become all different types of currency going forward. I don't believe that they are going to, and I don't think that they have a choice in this either. If you look at all the student debt that's out there, the system is broken. Smart lands. All right, so I'll do one last one here, smart lands. Oh, I don't know what the ticker is for smart lands. I used to know. Okay, so let's see if there's any final questions here. And I think that's it. So, guys, how long will the crypto space exist? Do you want me to give you an exact date in month and year? I don't think that's possible right now. So guys, I just want to remind you that our classes are going to be discounted through tomorrow, 15% off. Get some while you can. We got a number of classes that are out there now. This is my favorite, the Fractal Energy Masterclass. That's my baby. I've got various charting packages that are on here, like beginning introduction to technical analysis. We've got Mav's class here, how to find your next big cryptocurrency, classes on passive income, portfolio management, short-term trading strategies. So like how do you do breakouts versus pullbacks, those kind of things, how to do quick little swings, wallets and security. We've got the Colossal Bundle, which is basically just about everything that we sell. Mav just put out the Crypto Bootcamp. Again, if you're fairly new to getting into crypto, that might be one of them. And of course, the one that I'm introducing this week is called Trend Trading Class. So this is how the big institutions get big profits out of taking things that are starting to trend into an uptrend. So exactly what we're talking about today. This is ReadySetCrypto.com/trend, TREND, ReadySetCrypto.com/trend. You will not find it on the store. So any final questions, anything else that you guys would like to bring up? The daily videos, where do you get them? They're in the premium newsletter. So if there was any questions that come up that I was not able to answer for you guys, please just shoot us a note, support@ReadySetCrypto.com. So thanks, everybody. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me for, we're almost been on here for about 90 minutes, but thanks for hanging out with me on a Saturday. And may your football team do well, unless they're north of me here. Thanks, everybody. You guys have a great one, and I appreciate you hanging around with me here today. So you guys take care, and we'll see you around.
Aside from my soul.